Georgia 38, TCU 7. I mean, as far as college football national championship games go, that stacks up against 2013 Bama and 2001 Miami. It doesn't get much more dominant than that. Until it does. That's right. 65-7. That is the final score of the national championship game for the 2022-23 college football season. Georgia just committed a hate crime on national television. Undoubtedly the most lopsided national title game since the invention of the color TV, if not ever. I mean, this game reached Mavs-Suns levels of difficult to watch by the middle of the third quarter, and that game was so bad it warranted an apology from the Suns front office. It was so bad, it got me thinking about how it stacks up against other historic blowouts on the grandest stage. This game has already been dubbed by many as the worst national title game ever, so I think it only makes sense to compare it to what many call the worst Super Bowl ever. February 2nd, 2014, the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos face off in what should be an all-time matchup, the league's best offense versus the league's best defense, and it's already 2-0. That's right, the very first offensive play of the game by an all-time great offense is a snap over Peyton Manning's head into the end zone. Now, as bad of a start as that is, through most of the first quarter, it's really not that bad. It's still only a one-score game, and Peyton Manning sails it right to Cam Chancellor. Seahawks capitalize. Oh no. Not looking good, but it's only a two-score game, and there's still plenty of...
Ball up for grabs, picked off by Smith. Malcolm Smith, all alone. No flags, touchdown Seattle.
In plus territory too. That's a killer. But they're back there with a chance to get some points up before halftime, and it's gone. Okay, 22-0 at halftime. Not ideal, but not quite Georgia TCU levels of dominance yet. Hey, with a couple lucky bounces and some magic from the league's best offense, Denver could easily get back in this game. Oh, goodness gracious.
And Percy Harvin gets free. Percy Harvin inside the 30. He's going to go. Touchdown, Seattle.
It's at this point that the game gets completely out of hand, but it was clear watching the game back then, and even clearer watching this game again with the power of hindsight, that Denver just simply did not have a shot. The best offense in the league that year didn't get on the board until the end of the third quarter. The final would end up being 43-8, and the legacy of the Legion of Boom would be firmly cemented. Arguably the biggest ass-kicking in Super Bowl history. And now we have to ask, how does Georgia's win over TCU stack up? How do they compare? The fact is, the pro game and the college game are completely different. Obviously, Georgia was more dominant on the surface. I said that Denver had no shot at all, but the truth is the margins in the NFL are just much slimmer than the college game. In Super Bowl 48, both teams had the same caliber of athlete on the field, and one squad just executed to a much higher degree than the other. However, in the college realm, the fact is some teams are just so overwhelmingly talented to the point where scheme and play calling really do fly out the window. Look, no disrespect to TCU. There's a couple NFL caliber guys on that roster even, but in Athens, they breed NFL talent like dogs.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Sorry about that. Georgia is bigger, faster, and stronger than the vast majority of college football teams. And when I say vast majority, I pretty much mean all teams not named Alabama or Ohio State. That's just the nature of the sport. TCU was opportunistic and went on a Cinderella run, but they simply did not have the horses to compete with Georgia. They were essentially dead on arrival. They just didn't meet the freeze point, and that's not really an element that exists in the NFL. Georgia was, as I said, bigger, faster, and stronger than TCU, and simply overmatched them in every facet of a football game. Seattle took advantage of and forced mistakes from a historically good quarterback and offense and simply didn't blink for 60 minutes. Which is more impressive? I don't know that there's a definitive answer. And I don't know that it matters. Speaking of TCU, I know it has to suck. I mean, your Cinderella run ends with, well, whatever that was. There's another element to Super Bowl 48 to try and find some solace in, and that's the fact that just 2 seasons after getting the brakes beaten off of them, Denver found themselves back in the big game, and this time they took care of business. So Georgia, and Georgia fans, congratulations. You're likely on your way to becoming the next great dynasty in college football. But for the Underfrogs, this doesn't have to be the end, because it's not about how many times you get knocked down, it's about how many times you get back up. I'm Will from M&S, signing off.